And it says we're live. And look at that. I just assumed that we press live.
Yeah, it came up. I just seen that.
Look, as soon as we press live, look who popped up. What's going on, sir?
Man, we're good. We're good.
Pa-
We're good.
Pastor Simit,
Hey, Jay Martin.
how are you, man?
Good, man. Good. Good to see you guys.
It's a privilege.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
I'm just gonna share this to my main Facebook page. Chanel is normally asking like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Like, is there like a delay or something?
Yes, it's like a two minute delay, and I'm trying to figure out why. Progress is progress, you know.
I'm not as I'm not as gimmicky as Johnny and others.
I wish.
All right. Good
Um,
afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another Monday. Welcome to Black Buzz. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope you're doing all right out there. This is the podcast where we talk all things black. Of course, normally we're interviewing entrepreneurs, business owners, all black, whether they're male or female. We talk to them about what they're doing in the community for the community. We're just unapologetically black on this podcast. That's what we are. Right. Today we are doing a little bit of mixing in terms of how we're approaching the topic. So, but before that, let's just do some homework. So let's pay the bills, Shay. Let's pay the bills. All right. We're not we're not fully there, but we're still gonna try and pay the bills until we're really paying the bills. All right. We are tell them our social media handles.
Instagram blackbuzz.to.
Mhm.
We also have Facebook blackbuzz.to, YouTube blackbuzz.to, and if you'd like to be part of our show, blackbuzzto at gmail.com. You get a response within 24 hours on a good day.
All right.
on a good day.
On a good day.
Yeah,
Good day.
a good day, man. Shout outs to T Kicks. Shout outs to Lamar. Tia with her business is called T Kicks. So if you want to customize your shoes, Tia will link you up. She will hook you up. She does some other things too, but that's a conversation you can have with her. The main thing is that she does shoe customization, and a lot of the things that we have going on here, Lamar is the one that made it happen. All right, and every now and then they jump on with us, but they're busy handling their business. All right, so today we have two guests with us. We have Pastor Dexter Smith, and we have Mr. Jonathan Martin, and we want to talk a little. Well, we're still gonna stay. We're still gonna stay black. All right, we're not gonna stop that. We're still gonna stay black. But we want to talk about what it's like. What it's like being that in the workforce, whether it's from the perspective as men or as a male, or just in general in terms of being black in the workforce. And both of you come from different walks in terms of career path, right? And what you're doing now. So it should be an interesting conversation. Anything you want to say, Shay? Did I do a good job of queuing it up?
Yes, you did a really great job. I just want to highlight that this is the month of June where we celebrate fathers. I just wanted to spin it to the reason why we chose this topic is because we need to highlight the black men in our society who are doing stuff, who've been through that journey and have accomplished things that most people throughout the years have told them you can't reach here. So then we have to celebrate the ones who've gotten to a place where the younger people coming up can see if he's done it, I can actually reach that goal. So it's good to talk to them to see where their struggles were, where did they triumph, and then how they can share that information with everybody else. So the whole month of June we'll be celebrating our black men in the workforce.
All right. So before we go into the discussion, I'm just gonna give our guests the opportunity to introduce themselves. I'm gonna start with Jonathan first. Just give us a little background about who you are, where you're from. Just a
Okay.
little thing.
Okay. Well, as they said earlier, and name should be right there. My name
Yes.
is Jonathan Martin.
Yeah.
I'm a Juno nominated producer, music producer. Um, I grew up in Scarborough, Seventh Day Adventist to the bone, like literally to the bone. I grew up in the Apple Creek Seventh Day Adventist Church. Went to Crawford, and I going to these places just I don't know. I like the fact that I'm able to claim that I'm Seventh Day Adventist. A lot of people say they're Christian, but like no, I'm Seventh Day Adventist.
You're SDA Christian. All right.
Yeah, you baptized me. Remember that.
Hey, don't be spilling the beans, man. Come on. All right. Thank you, sir. Thanks for giving us that, and we're gonna talk to you in a second. We have now next guest. I'll have him do all the introduction, and then we'll go from there.
All right.
Good afternoon, Black Buzz and people.
Yes.
Honored to be here. Pastor Dexter Smith, pastor of the Hope Seventh-day Adventist Church currently. We'll give shout out to KP for following, for setting the pace for me over there. But we are happy to be here. We are pastor, but we have lots of life experience in various walks of life. We've served in various capacities, not just in ministry, but we've served at Youthdale. We've served with the United Way as counselors there. So we've worked in community service in the city of Toronto for years. We worked at Patty King growing up just to get ourselves through school. So we have a little bit of experience on the field. We worked at Zellers, and some of us may not know that. We can go right back to teen and give our resume for that. But we've been employed in almost every walk of life over the time of and the journey of my life. So I guess I could kind of talk to that as well. I worked also in the financial sector. I worked at the Royal Bank for the Royal Bank of Canada as well for 2 years. So we can just about relate to almost everybody when it comes to employment. But I'll say God has gifted us the opportunity to serve for the Seventh-day Adventist Church as a minister. And we are very grateful and honored and humbled to be a part of the great work of the gospel.
All right. Thank you, Pastor Smith and Jonathan Martin. So, since last year, we have seen a whole lot of things happening in our society from a social justice standpoint, right? As a matter of fact, Black Buzz is like a product of what happened last year after the death of George Floyd, the protests. I got the opportunity to hear a lot more about injustices when it comes to the Black community, the Black world. And, everybody was just on this thing where, okay, I need to start examining my Blackness, or I need to be more intentional and deliberate about what I'm doing in terms of helping and supporting the Black community, right? And of course, part of it has to do with the treatment of Black men, whether it's, them interacting with police officers from that end in the court system, in the workforce, or whatever the case is. The microscope was on and we got a chance to see a lot more and to hear a lot more about what's going on. Even recently with some of 2020 wasn't the end of it, because we're in 2021 and we're still dealing with these things, especially when it comes to Black men, young, older men, right? And it doesn't matter if they're educated or uneducated, rich or poor. We saw a whole lot of things going on. But month of June is we celebrate Father's Day. So let's deal with it from a, male perspective. What are your thoughts about, some of the things that we see in the workplace, or even if you want to go outside of that, in our society in general, and, how it affects us and how we react? And some people may think that we are overreacting, or it's not the case. You just have to work harder. You've heard the usual lines, right? And Jonathan, you're in the music sector. I don't know, some of the things that you've experienced, some of the things that you've seen. Maybe you can enlighten us right? So then we come over to Pastor Smith.
Okay.
Or we can, we can even banter back and forth. That's perfectly
Yeah.
fine too.
Okay. Well, I really haven't seen it much in the music industry. Recently, I was able to help a friend of mine do a soundtrack for a movie that came out called Faith Heist. And that was tapping into not the music industry, but the film industry. And taking a little glimpse over there, because that was just like my first film contract that I ever did. When I was doing that, there's a big difference between the film industry and the music industry. Personally, I don't know if anybody that may be watching has been working in that side of the industries. But I could say that there's a lot of racism in that side. And the reason why I can say that is because the music industry is filled up with a lot of Black people.
Okay.
It's like the music industry is the Black people, the film industry is the white people.
Okay.
The money is more direct on one side. Then you have to work harder and keep working harder and keep working harder and wait a certain amount of time to receive the funds that you've worked so hard for. Sometimes it's a year or two. And in the film industry, they cap that right in half.
Sorry, something
Everything.
you kicked on just now, because as you say, you're in the music industry. I'm a artist, independent. So my question would be historically, because when you talk about slavery and back in then, we were considered to be the entertainment. Now it's more financial tap on it. But do you still think that how we're viewed is still same focal lengths, except that I will pay you eventually? Do you think it's that basically it's similar? Like, of course, we have a lot more laws and rules and regulations now, but we were considered to be the gestures, the entertainment, historically. Now we're still doing it. Difference is that we're living that lavish, big boy, Cash Money Records type of style now. But do you still think that it's the same? It's viewed the same way?
Yes, I could say that, because look at well, once again, you guys might not see this, right?
No, that's what I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask you to elaborate a bit, because I mean, while I think I may have heard, right? I'm not too familiar with what you just said in terms of waiting. Like, what does that actually look like or mean?
Okay, so the way, and I'm still learning the industry. I don't know everything. Right. I have a good manager, a good friend that will sit down and be like, hey, this is what it is. This is what it is. And it's like,
right,
this is a lot. That's why there's courses for it at schools, music business. But what I understand is when you step up and you say, okay, you want to be an artist.
Yeah.
There's at least, it varies. It could be 3 years before you actually see a dime of 6 albums that you produced or sung on.
Wow.
You have these situations where you have people like Justin Bieber, right?
Yeah.
He's white. He goes on YouTube, all these social media platforms, and they say, oh, here's a young white boy that can sing. Give him a deal.
Yeah.
First album, he's receiving whatever that deal encountered financially. A young Black kid can do the same thing that he's done and not receive a penny until they decide to give him the rights to his music.
Oh, so in terms of give him the rights to his music, what then, aside from the example of Justin Bieber being white, what difference then did he have? Better management, better people who would get him the money, or it's just something that they just do?
Well, it comes down to a deal. Once again, there's Sony, Universal, Island Def Jam, all these music labels.
Right.
They could, once they look at you and see that you're potentially a mainstream artist, they'll pick you up and they'll give you everything you want. But you're basically like selling yourself to them at that point. That's why a lot of people like Daniel Caesar, Chance the Rapper, all these artists decide to be independent.
Okay.
So they answer to themselves. They don't answer to the big, forgive my language, the big white man.
Okay.
So then, seeing the obstacles, what was your push? What was your incentive? Because at the end of the day, you just explained how hard it is for you to turn, for you to walk, to even out. So what was your incentive? Because you are one of the people that say you are accomplishing your dream. However, the road is long and muddy. So what was your incentive?
Even a little bit more direct, not just your incentive. You're making money right now.
Yeah, I am.
Lawyer,
okay.
Politically correct.
I just want to make sure. You're pulling in some change, black man. Okay.
Basically, the aspect I came from, I went being at Crawford. My music teacher was Aaron Manswell. Some of you may know him, some may not. He came from Oakwood and came into teaching me, and I kind of grew up seeing him in the church. So when he came, I was like, oh, okay, my big brother is teaching me now. I gave that guy some trouble, not gonna lie, but he saw a certain interest in me as like a young musician, and it was like, like the possibility of you going far is like very, very like bright. Like he encouraged me to download these softwares, start making a sound for yourself, start doing all these things. And having a background as a musician in church, like your ear goes way further, and you're able to, depending on how much time you put in, you can become really skilled. And there was one day that his brother Jordan Manswell came to do what was it, like a presentation, and he's a music producer, and he came in and he displayed all this stuff. He had recently just made a song called Blessed for Daniel Caesar. I think he just did the Mariah Carey song, and I was like, wow, this is cool. I was messing around at the piano. He was like, oh, that's nice, we can record that. And I was like, okay, what is that gonna do? Like, I didn't really understand that was like my first, like, hey, I'm gonna take you, mentor you, work with you, teach you exactly how this thing works. And then like from that day, it was history, sitting down with him. I go to his house like every day in the summer, every other day, and just be like making music. And like that's what was like, he showed me that, hey, you can do what you love, you can create, and you can make money off of this thing. But he was already doing it. It wasn't like we had to go and figure out how we're gonna get here. What are we gonna do?
Okay, I was gonna ask you if that was a key component, or that is a key component in terms of navigating some of the challenges that you might face, or some of the challenges that you highlighted when it comes to being a young black man or a black person trying to get into industry.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there's guys that were young and black and got the chance, such as people like Chris Brown. I watched his documentary, how he got his fame. But it's like, if you were to put the ratio of how many Chris Browns made it to how many young white males or young white females make it, or how many black females make it, it's like this. One's way higher than the other, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate.
Sorry, so I wanted to ask Pastor Smith. Jonathan works basically in the background. You're a public speaker up front. You're never off the clock. So he's telling his side of the story. What was your journey? Because you talk about Zellers and you talk
Right, right. Yeah, the
a
history
whole
there.
heap of
Yeah,
stuff, and
yeah.
you have some years on Jonathan, just a few. So I mean, of like, what was your spin? Because you're a, like, yes, you preach, but that is still considered to be public speaking, and that's not an easy thing, especially when there's so many mega speakers out there. So your journey, how did it start? Let's get into that.
Well, it comes from I guess a Christian orientation. Um, it's interesting because I would say, Jonathan, we both are from Apple Creek, but
Yeah.
I would say within our culture there, and the Apple Creek culture, and Pastor Perrin, you'd understand because you pastor the church. There's just an expectation from the culture for success. And success is found in education. Education is a big thing for that specific congregation. Not only that, but climbing the ladder of success. Not ignoring the spiritual side, but Apple Creek tends to want to see their young people achieve.
Right.
And I think there's a pressure there. There's an understanding there, and Jonathan, you react to that. There's a pressure there, and there's an understanding there, an expectation there that you will, like Aaron Manswell did, or like his brother did as well. That you will carry the torch forward, but then be the example for those behind you. And so I had a lot of great people that came ahead of me just the same. And I had to aspire to do great things. But I remember, had it not been for that culture in my church, I remember working Zellers. That was like one of my first jobs that I worked over the summer. And I remember working at Zellers, the distribution center right there off of the 401 and I think it's Birchmount. And while I was there, it's like there was a culture. You start at 7 and you end at 4. And the culture there was, this is what you do for the rest of your life. Some guys were there for like 30 years.
Right.
And, the way they talked, their goals, their ambitions were at a certain level, because the expectation is this is what happened. You don't finish high school, this is where you're going to end up. But I had another culture that showed me something else, that had an expectation for me that was beyond that. So I could not stay with what the weak culture was, because my weekend culture said, what's going on? They kept me accountable.
Yeah.
If I were to just speak something to Black Buzz, it would be, be careful who you hang out with, and be careful who's around you, your influences. The framework of society has already been there to keep us in a certain place, and to keep the community in a certain place. But it's the shoulders of those who have made it out that still lean on the next generations to continue to mentor and to set high expectations for the community, so that we won't aspire to be what the trend or what the system demands or asks us to be and to stay at that level. I want to say, when I was young at Apple Creek, there was a group of young adult men who said, one guy his name's Lance Flash, and he said, young man, we're going to take you out to eat. We don't know what you're doing with your lives, but we just want to affirm the fact that you're around. You're here. And that's all that matters. They would take us out to Frankie's Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And they would feed us, they would feed us. But then at the end of feeding us, they would, celebrate us and say, doesn't matter what you're doing, you're here. But they would say, we want you guys to achieve. We want you guys to go to the distance of whatever your dreams are. They didn't, tell us what our dreams should be. They said, you dream, but whatever you need, we're here for you. And I think that makes a difference in the life of men. Men need mentors, Our society needs mentors, and Jonathan spoke to that, and that's why I'm echoing. That's the trend that he was on, so I'm going to continue it. Black men need mentors. We need older men who will turn back around and pay it forward, right, and also reach back. And I affirm that culture that helped me. It doesn't mean that we're not facing challenges now, but we can face them. If we face them together, I think with numbers, we can accomplish great things. So I just want to affirm that kind of culture, because for that, it meant for me that I had to not stay at Zeller's. Patty King was going to be for the summer. And that was going to be for the summer until I owned my own Patty King. You understand?
Look at you. There you go. There you go right there.
You know,
I mean, I think you both, you know, you both said it in different ways. I mean, and coming from different perspective, right? In terms of navigating life in general, or, you know, being successful where you are, or pushing to be greater in whatever it is that you're doing. The individuals, especially the men in your life, right, were instrumental and key to making this happen. So what do we then say when, or what would you say about when we don't have that, or when they are missing, or some of the ills that we see in society? You know, talk to us about that. What are your thoughts? You know, you can, like I said, you can go back and forth, you know, jump in at any time, let us know.
Okay. You can go first.
And we see, of course, a lot of it happening in terms of our community, right? Sometimes it's very uncomfortable to address it, right? But you know, we see it. We you know, and people address it, and usually sometimes other cultures, and they speak ill, you know, based on some of the things that they're seeing.
You know, I would say our community needs. I mean, we've been going through a lot, and we all stand on the backs of those West Indians who came to Canada years ago to help agriculture, to help, you know, nursing and industries to progress. Canada needed help.
Yeah,
it was on the back of immigrants that this happened. Those immigrants made a lot of sacrifices and also sent for more family members to come forward to find opportunity, but also to invest in this society. I think, Pastor Perrin, I think it's for this society to understand that there has been a debt that's been paid on the backs of ancestors who tried their best to hold up the name of who we are, right? As a society who were studied because they couldn't come here without being educated, you know, who were studied and who came with not just for opportunity, but came to make Canada better, and to make even America better. So I'm saying, you know, us as young people and the next generation has to understand that although you may not be in touch with that reality, that we have an onus to push forward. I love this. I don't want to just affirm Black Buzz.
Yeah.
The conversations like this are edifying, and they're helping to stimulate thought for those who feel down and out, those who feel downtrodden, those who feel, you know, like they're on the margins of society. I want to let you know that you may not always see it, but because you don't see it doesn't mean it hasn't happened, and that there are people that are doing great things. And you got to find a way to, when you see people that need encouragement, give them that encouragement. Let them know, hey, you're here. You know, hey, you're here. I see you. You're here. What can I do to help? And I think, Pastor Perrin, what we need to do is continue to find ways to help each other.
Right,
you know,
right.
Yeah. Find ways to pour into each other. Find ways to support each other. Find ways to have conversations that edify and not just tear down. Find more ways. If we stay talking about what happened to us, but not what we can do about it, I think we've wasted time.
Right,
but I think we need to continue to forge forward and find ways to encourage one another to do great things, but also to sow seed into it. So thanks for giving a plug to those who have businesses, because it's things like this that help us to grow and gain power so that we can make laws. You know, we need to be in the seat to make laws and to change the frameworks of political agendas.
So I have a question for the three of you guys. Since, well, two of you guys are in the public speaking arena and Jonathan is doing, he's producing, he's in the background. Do you ever feel pressured to be that role model? Because I know, especially coming from a West Indian society, especially if your family is not where your parents wanted you guys to be, the moment they have that one trophy child, or the moment that one, oh, my son, my daughter, yes. Now the rest of your family, did you hear about my baby Jonathan? You see what he's doing? And you get that added pressure, and then society, and now because church, everybody's going to talk about where he comes from. School, everybody's going to talk about this one trophy person. Do you ever feel pressured now that you're doing what you're supposed to? Do you feel that pressure to always be, how can I be perfect? Or you have to accomplish it because now it's not about you. You want to do your dream, but now that you've gotten in that space, now you have like 10,000 people behind you just watching you. Do you ever feel that pressure? Any three of you guys, because we're celebrating the month of June, right? So,
Yeah, ever feel that pressure? I'll let you guys go first, and then I'll chime in. I mean, you always feel a level of it, right? Some amount of pressure when it comes to Go ahead. Jonathan,
Jonathan, go ahead.
Yeah.
I won't.
It's so crazy because I'm sitting here and all I want to do is hear Dexter talk. It's insane. Yeah, that's why I kind of like to keep my accomplishments quiet, because once someone around you finds out that you know someone of status, everyone now puts you on that like that pedestal, you know, around people all the time. Oh, you did this. Oh my gosh, you're like a legend. You're this, you're that, and I'm just like, it's like I am not that person. Like, if you realize where I came from, you would understand that like I made it here, but I haven't made it yet. I have a lot of years in front of me that I can go further. My goal is to give back in a certain way. I have been doing that already with younger guys, younger musicians that are coming up, and I try and talk to them as much as possible. Some of them said when I started talking to them that I was like, oh, I didn't even know I could talk to you. Like, you know, you're doing all these things. And it's like, no, I will make the time to talk to you, because when I was younger and wanted to talk to some of the older heads, they neglected me. They laughed at me. They purposely ignored me, bashed me, you know, and it's like, oh, when I was younger, I wasn't able to talk to the older heads. I had to make myself relevant. And it's like, when you start to separate the whole relevance factor, then you have a whole bunch of young guys that are going through things. And I'm a young guy, but I'm talking about a little younger guys, the guys that are like 5 years, 3 years younger than me, that just haven't matured as much as I have at such a rapid pace. And I have to give my parents credit for that. They made me like say, hey, if you can't do something, figure out how to do it. I don't know if that answered the question or not, but
ask me, Shay, does it answer your question?
in part, but I think the three of you guys will collectively answer it.
I think it does. I'll jump in and I'll say there's always a pressure, and I think the pressure is because as a race we still aren't there, and I think because we're not there, if you do have any level of influence or any success associated with you that has made a difference, you realize that you've not done enough to fix that. So there's still more work to be done. And so that puts, I guess, Pastor Brandon, you can jump in, but that puts an onus of weight on you alone. If you desire to move the race forward, and I think all of us in the room do, you feel the pressure. You feel the pressure. And it does propel you, though. And I think if you look at it as a positive thing, it can help.
Yeah, I think in terms of the propelling forward, right? Of course, when you feel pressure, you know, some other people may react and do different things. Some will crumble underneath that pressure, right? Some will lose their identity, right? So individuals who may look like us, you know, who came from a certain background like us, rather than, you know, utilizing their current position or current situation to bring others or to encourage others like us to do something, they would just pretty much fall off when it comes to doing something like that, right? So for them, of course, the pressure didn't work well. But in terms of me personally, like Pastor Smith was saying, you utilize it to move forward yourself, to bring others, make an impact in your family. It goes into and you don't know how far you can go, right? The pressure from another side, in terms of how I'm looking at it too, is those who are looking at you, right? You're perhaps in a space that you are not typical, or people like us are not typically in, or men like us are not typically in. And so there's a pressure, eyeballs are on you, everything that is happening with you is being scrutinized. It's so many different things, right? I mean, you go outside in our current climate, of course, and I'm in the US right now, so it's a little bit more intense in terms of how it is playing out, right? But as far as there is pressure to drive a certain way, right? Dress a certain way, it's all around, especially as a black man, and there are a lot of, and I admitted it when I after the death of George Floyd and all the protests that we had last year. There aside from being black, and I went to a school in the U.S. Pastor Smith is well familiar with, called Oakwood. It's not exclusively black; it is predominantly black. But I learned about my blackness there, right? But even though I had that exposure for such a long time, or at least 4 years, there are still, I realized that, man, I really didn't know a whole lot or understand a lot until that situation happened. And then, then the pressure comes, do you speak up? Do you join with the voices? Or, so I don't know how you can escape it. I think but I can't say it any better. You channel it, like Pastor Smith was saying, to bigger and better things.
Yeah,
true.
But one thing I wanna point out is that there's some people feel, and I can speak for the Black community, that if you didn't trudge and go to have sleepless nights and be almost broke, that you never made it, and they pressure you to like reach that point. But it's like, for all the people that didn't have to have literally $1 left in their bank account, or be sleeping on somebody else's couch, or whatever that case is, why can't the pressure be to not do that?
Well, in terms of picking up on what we discussed, especially what Pastor Smith said, individuals made it better so that you don't have to go through that. And you shouldn't have to apologize, right? For that, Jonathan, in terms of, but yes, you're correct. You have that mentality out there that you got to go through the same exact thing. Well, no, you went through that so that I didn't have to. And now, whatever challenges I am facing now, I'm going to sort out those challenges so that somebody else won't have to deal with the challenges that I'm dealing with. So yeah, I agree with what you just said there in terms of that mentality coming from our own community a lot of times.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
That's not an outsider's thing. That's an insider thing.
It blows my mind.
I think that speaks to what Pastor Perrin, what you said, problem with identity. So our identity has always found value within the world from coming from nothing and becoming something.
Yes.
But then when we look at history, we were always something. When we look at history, we were something before we came nothing. But I think our identity continues to fight among itself because of the effects of slavery. To say, well, between us, I'm the one doing the harder work to become somebody, so that makes me more successful than you. And I think that's the effects again of slavery, of racism, because the reality is that we all came from something,
Yeah.
And if we want to take it back to Genesis, then let's go. Since we're pastors, we all came from something, and we had something, and we don't have to worry about feeling any guilt or shame on that.
Yeah.
I think you need to. I think you need to write that down, please. That was really deep, man.
I was yesterday was my wife's birthday, and she wanted to keep it simple. So she said, let's just go to a beach and just take the kids. Let's just sit there. So we went there, we found a spot under a tree, and I said, okay, well, we forgot some things in the car. So I was going to run back to the car. So I got to the parking lot. A lady was eating her lunch or something in the car passenger seat. She was in the passenger seat. I was headed into the parking lot. Her car parked next to ours. I was going to the driver's side of the vehicle. She saw me coming to the car, and she immediately wound up her window. Of course, she was a white woman. So she,
the clouds were setting up. Rain was about to fall. It was nothing like that.
The sunniest day.
It was just dark for her. She just saw darkness.
That's right. Let me tell you, she quickly wound up her window. And the difference is that her children in the back had their window down, and they kept it open the same. Her children were okay with me. She was not, obviously. But then I thought to myself, as a Black man, as a father, as a pastor, a spiritual leader, should I approach her and knock on the window and have a conversation?
Yeah.
So when we talk about pressure, it's crazy, Pastor Perrin, and Jonathan, it's crazy because even as men, in moments like that, a normal person or a person who had never experienced racism the way we have would not think twice about how to deal with a challenge like that. Because I had to think about who I represent. I had to think about all these layers before just being human.
Right.
And so when you ask the question, Shay, we struggle with this daily. I think, and as men, we struggle with it daily. There's always pressure on how to relate, how to deal with, how to think about how, when that lady comes out her car, how she'll then deal with my children. Will she then speak to the other white people around and channel them to negativity? So then my peaceful day becomes one, filled with clouds, and no more sun, So it's crazy because she came out of her car and I saw her walking, and she looked at me and she remembered, right? She remembered that I was the guy, and I looked at her and I thought, should I talk about it or should I just smile? I said, you know what? I'm going to choose to smile.
Your experience there actually is a good springboard into what I wanted to ask as far as the challenges that we face in our society, and the reason why I say it's a good springboard is because I want to, how do we deal with those everyday conflicts? That's what I want to, we did the inspirational thing. Yes, it's gonna come. It's gonna, but we must model. We do it for the people, do it for the community. We know what's going on out there, but I think that's one way. You gave another practical example. You chose to, let me just go get my stuff, right?
Yeah.
And go about my business and let her deal with what she needs to deal with. But, what are some of the other things that we can do in terms of, handling and navigating what we're dealing with?
Hold on, before you answer that.
Yeah.
KP segued to what I wanted to ask.
Okay.
So within last year and now, the term microaggression has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So, because what your story just said, and I want to know, did you know like a lot of these things that are listed as microaggressions, did you notice them before, or now that they're so in the forefront? Because there are things that we know for a fact, you have a problem because of my skin color, but small things
we just live with it.
No,
I didn't categorize. I didn't know how to categorize it. But even if the term was out there, I didn't know the term.
Exactly.
Right?
Because we know there are things that the others do towards us. We know that, but there's such a long list now. Do you think now that this term microaggression is now getting bigger, are we more aware, on guard now?
I'll add to it.
How do you
implicit microaggression, implicit bias.
Right.
What else? What are some of the other buzz? I'm telling you, since
Indignities.
Yeah.
right?
You know?
All of these different things, qualified immunity, not understanding that individuals who are in power were one of the reasons why they kept getting off when they
Yeah.
did some negative thing to a black person is simply because of things like that. So yes, because of implicit bias, for example, the black babies were when they were dealt with by a white doctor, they didn't fare too well many times. That's a study that came out. But when a black doctor was involved, they came out much better. Mother daughter did, women who talking about microaggressions or implicit bias and things of that nature. Ladies when they were giving birth, pain management. The idea is that black folks can handle pain a lot better than other races. So therefore, they don't give us the things that we need in order for us to manage. So yeah, I mean, whether it's microaggressions or implicit bias or whatever the other terms are, all right, it's been there, and we dealt with it. We laugh, if we're by ourselves or whether we're in a group, we just laugh and we say, "Come on," But then we understand how sinister and how devious these things are because it leads to, these so-called microaggressions. They pass it on, and others. Some people will take it a lot further than just winding up the window. They will go as far as calling you names.
Yes.
In the age of Corona, some people may want to spit on you and all type of craziness just because of that's it.
Yeah.
It's not because you're doing them anything.
I want to say something, and it's actually very interesting because it is in Toronto, but personally, when I moved out here to Alberta to begin school at Burman University, that's when it slapped me in my face that, hey, your skin color is an issue in places. Being in Toronto, never really saw it that heavy.
Right.
It was there, but I never really I was like, okay, I hear about this thing. My parents talked to me about it when I was younger, but all this stuff.
Yeah. That was for them, not me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I get out here and people look at you when you're walking through Walmart like you're a little bit too close to me. And this is before Corona. This is before the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah.
Or when you're driving in your car, you see them looking at you a little bit too hard, saying that you shouldn't be driving a vehicle like that. And being in restaurants, sitting down and eating, and people and the security guards walk by your table 7 times, but they didn't walk around the other side, but they walked by my table 7 times. Or situations where police officers literally trail your car. I never had that happen to me before. Trailed my car until I reached my street. And it was like, I never saw this before. I never had to deal with this before. And then it's like the time you get pulled over and my heart is racing. Like, when I go and reach for my wallet, am I going to get shot? Are these my last moments?
Right.
And you realize every time you get pulled over for a black person, it's a testimony in church.
It's true. It's crazy how even this term microaggression, it's changing. It's evolving now. Like the word micro invalidations are out there now, and micro insults are out there too. I was watching the news yesterday, and we all heard about what happened in Victoria, right? We all heard what happened to the indigenous people and what they found. So
we're on the same wavelength. I just didn't know how to interject that into the conversation.
No, it's crazy because in micro invalidation, right on CP24 headlines yesterday, they put in, looking into the case where these children died, right? And I thought about the fact that they're using the word "they died" and not "they were murdered."
Murdered. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Invalidating what white men did.
Mm-hmm.
These people, and these people must have died.
Yeah.
They couldn't have been murdered. But
Mhm.
these micro invalidations have been happening in media. And so I'm saying that because we're a social media world where now we can challenge these microaggressions. We can videotape them and have a conversation and a dialogue. Honestly, everything in me yesterday didn't want to smile and just wave and be silent, because nowadays we are confronting them openly. We're saying, listen, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? I think back in the day before George Floyd, we couldn't have that kind of conversation.
No.
The whole place around you would say that's crazy. Right. But I think we have to understand that microaggressions have morphed, and white men are continuing to have language that continues to erase and undo their wrongs with even words through media.
Right.
But you heard the Pope's Pastor Barron, you might have heard the Pope's apology to Canada. It wasn't an apology. You know, we are saddened by what the trauma of the people of Canada. And who are the people of Canada? Right, Indigenous people aren't Canadians.
Nope.
So what are you saying, right? But that's another microaggression or micro invalidation by the highest level of religious authority in all the world that we consider being the Pope, right? So these microaggressions are happening, and they're happening every day.
But the moment you speak out, you get labeled.
Come on now.
The moment you say something, all of a sudden you are problematic, or you're loud, or you're angry. And this is one of the things why I said today this topic, because the moment if you, especially if you're at work and they say something and you're like, excuse me, that wasn't inappropriate. Oh, you're sensitive. Oh, you're doing too much. Or this is like, but this is the reality. The fact that I didn't see CP24, but I mean, these children, one, were stolen.
Yes.
Kidnapped.
Yes.
Parents were, all sorts of things happened to them, and they were taken to a place they don't know, and then all of a sudden they come up missing, and then all of a sudden you find their bodies, and it's like they died. You have to understand what that says. And I'm sure if anybody spoke, because we're studying it in school, how these kids try to talk, hey, that's not normal for me, and then they were punished for it. But nowadays in society, when you go to work and say like, or if I have my hair out and it's like, you want to touch my hair, and I said no. Oh, you're sensitive. It's just hair. No, it's my hair. As a black woman, this is my crown. She's an angry black woman. Then you guys can't do anything at work. Somebody spit on talk to you. You have to stand it because of course, immediately you are bigger than them. You are a threat, and they're a victim. So it's a never end. Like, as a woman, at least I can cry and pretend to be hurt. You guys can't do that.
No, we can do it, but it's looked down upon.
It's frowned upon. I still have a little bit more leverage, but I mean, the moment you like Pastor Smith said, he just walked by his car. He immediately he's a threat. He didn't do anything. He didn't say nothing. He didn't have no bottle in his hand. He wasn't talking straight patois. He wasn't waving up his heart. He wasn't anything.
Somebody watching the broadcast just said this. What about the microaggressions that are internalized and make us seriously sick? You know, that's the person said that's slow suicide. You know, that's once again, it's not something that I was, but it does happen. That's pretty much.
You have to fit the mold inside, then you have to fit the mold outside. There's no winning, because where are you guys supposed to turn if the people who's supposed to be there for you are telling you one thing and you're coming at you, and then you're looking outside to quote unquote the majority, and they're also coming down on you. Where do you fit? Where exactly, as a black man, where do you fit in this circle? You know.
Well, I you know. The way this conversation began, I think is you know, has a lot for us to use and to press forward with, right? You know, of course we're fortunate. A lot of us, for the three males on here, we're fortunate. We've had a foundation, we've had individuals that sold into us and inspired us, encouraged us, even when we made mistakes. Individuals never gave up on us, and they told us to continue to move forward, do great things, do better things. They pointed out some of the pitfalls in our society, some of the pitfalls within our own group, within our own setting, and made sure that we're aware and we tried to do better and strive for better. You know, as we navigate, you know, the world out there, you know, that foundation is very, very important and very key for me personally, you know. Inter-conflict management, how I deal with these individuals. Especially when you don't know, in my current environment, I don't know who has what on them, right? I say the only weapon I have is my Bible. Okay. So, you know, and you know, I think that foundation, that experience, those lessons are important for me, so that I can navigate. It's unfortunate that we live in that kind of world, but we do, right? And you know, because we know that we can navigate it better. I appreciate my blackness a little bit better now.
That's right.
You know, I'm okay with being a black person, but not just that. I'm okay with being a black man, right? Some of the negative things, yes, you know, some of the negative things that you know are normally thrown our way and said about us. You know, I don't buy into those things, as if, you know, we're more dangerous than other persons, and you know what we do is viewed as so terrible when it compares to, you know, a white person or individuals of another group. You know, I there are a lot of good things in terms of me pressing forward and trying to do better in, you know, whatever situation or whatever environment I'm in, you know, whether I'm in workplace or, you know, I'm just moving through the world or in society in general, right? That's how I deal with it.
Wow.
All right. Go ahead. You want to say something?
I was going to say, yeah, you know what? There might be somebody who's watching today, and I want to throw a question to all of us, right? There might be somebody who might say, you know, I'm not coming from that kind of a situation. You know, I don't have a community where, you know, I had a whole brotherhood who made it out, or who were successful. Where do I go? What do I do? How do I find that mentorship? How do I find that camaraderie or that you know, positive affirmation? What would we say to somebody like that?
Okay, go ahead, Jonathan. Go ahead.
You don't realize what's around you until it's gone. That's the first thing I'll say. We have so many resources in our hand alone. This one thing, our phone, right? You can literally find anything on there. You can find anything on there, but unfortunately, through drugs, for some young Black people, it's quick money, right? And you want quick money so you can spend it. It's not long-term money, it's quick money. So to develop the mindset of developing long-term money, things that can edify if you want to have kids, edify that. You have to start to realize that there's not as much as excuses that you can give in this society. Like, of course, racism is a part of it. When you've been applying for jobs and, you know, they don't want to hire Black people. Then,
based on your last name or where you live. Yes, we know about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Why is it that you can't go and find other things to do, right? You can look to a church like Hope that has a lot of community outreach. Are you asking questions? Because when you start to ask questions, and people, and you can't ask one, right? Questions, it's plural. Continue to reach out to people. There will be at least one person that answers you, and there'll be that one person that sees that you were interested. I have a lot of friends that are afraid to ask questions. Growing up in school, I was afraid to ask questions because you didn't want to look dumb. You didn't want people to know that you're struggling, but it's okay to struggle, you know? Not everything will be handed to you, but it's just like, find a goal, find a realistic goal. I always say, have an unrealistic goal and a realistic goal. And when you reach it, because you got to challenge yourself and challenge God, because I made a list for myself for the end of 2020 of my accomplishments. I wrote it down. I prayed on it every day, even days when I felt it wasn't likely. And I accomplished 9 out of my 10 goals for the end of 2020. I put myself to the test, and I made it happen. I didn't have millions of dollars. Even though I did have a mentor, I didn't rely on him for everything. That would just be my suggestion.
To what Pastor Smith was saying in terms of, what I would say to the person, a lot of times when I hear a question like that, I can only rely on my own experience. Of course, I've learned a lot more now, but I lean on my experience. I grew up in that typical neighborhood and those neighborhoods, right, where you're not supposed to make it out, especially as a Black man, or you're supposed to be a part of the gang culture or the drug culture. In that neighborhood where the schools weren't up to par, or it's not one of the big name schools. Family background wasn't all that great, saw gun violence, arrests, all of these different things, right? If I didn't have, as I mentioned, for me, yes, I had some great positive influence, male and females, right? But definitely the males. But let's just say I didn't have those things. All right, there are choices. You have a choice to make. If you're caught up in those situations, like Jonathan saying, that there are different ways you can reach out. Social media is a big deal right now, right? You have so many inspiring stories. You can start at historically at the top, where Martin Luther King, the Malcolm X's, or the Harriet Tubmans, and all of these different things. You come closer, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, so many inspirational individuals. Use social media to understand, learn about these individuals, learn about their struggles, what they had to do, see how they have, see how they fought against the odds, right, in order to make it where they are, and things of that nature. Use those things to encourage yourself, right? You have friends, even if the friends are not all that positive, right? Find that positive one. I'm just thinking about practical things, right?
Yeah.
Just trying to answer Pastor Smith's question. Find that positive friend and that positive thing. Maybe it's just a crazy idea, right? That friend has. Okay, run with that. The other ones are telling you, let's go smoke, or let's go do this, or let's go to this party, go check some girls or whatever. Those things you see. The other friend that said, man, I got this business idea that I'm working on, or I have this I got a job that I'm trying to line up, or something like that. Choose that friend, right? You might be watching this broadcast. This is this podcast here. Well, this is one of those things that's talking to you right now, right? You just, it's not happenstance that you might be hearing this, and you're hearing this right now, right? Just go ahead and listen to some of the points that we had to say. Find a mentor. You don't have a mentor, find somebody that you can think of positive. If it's not in your family, outside of your family, a teacher, maybe a dentist that your dentist, or your doctor, or somebody. I'm just trying to give them, because just like Pastor Smith said, a lot of people don't necessarily have all those things that we spoke about, and I don't want to be clueless in terms of or discourage anybody out there. Well, if I don't have that, then definitely can't make it. No, you have a choice. You have freedom of will. You choose to do something different, and different as in something positive, as opposed to the negative, right? And you will see yourself incrementally moving forward, right? Doing it. This day you've made some positive choices. The next day, you're gonna make some more positive choices, and so, and then it follows through a week, and then 2 weeks. Next thing you know, you've done a whole month. Oh my goodness!
Yep.
You know, I'm in the library. I'm learning so much about this particular subject or this particular topic. That's how I would encourage the person listening who hasn't had the kind of exposure and background that we did.
And another thing, riding off what you're saying, is that for that young person that feels that like you don't want to do all these things because you'll be different.
Yeah,
it's okay to be different. You know,
Mhm.
you want to follow this whole norm of fitting in, having the most friends. Like, it's nice,
Right.
but they'll fail you. You
Mhm.
know, they'll when your downfall happens, then you'll be the one to be looked down upon. And you thought that these were your people that us young people call our riders. Our ride or dies. You know, it's not until they go somewhere else, they move. What happens to you then? Right? They'll move on, and you'll be stuck looking for this example. No, if the library is something that you thought was always cool, do it. If studying was something you thought was cool, but it's not cool to the people around you, still do it.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a business idea, as you said, you think you might not make it. How did you know you weren't going to make it if you didn't put in the effort?
Mhm.
Right? There's grants that are given to young people. Search them up, and for people that don't know what a grant is, it's a whole lump sum of money that you have to use to launch your businesses.
That's the Jonathan dictionary definition right there. Money's involved.
Yeah, money's involved. Get up and, then there's people, people like Pauline Christian, that has the Black Business People Association. Those things are there. People that are willing to give you the opportunity. So yeah, do it. Be different.
I'll jump in with you guys and agree and affirm everything you've said and just add to it. I think you all have been saying this too, and just reinforce this. You don't need money. You just need to make choices.
Yeah.
Your choices will drive success. Just make positive choices. Change the lives that are around you, and that will always find value and payback. You mentioned some amazing names. The Booker T. Washingtons, the Harriet Tubmans. Those people didn't have money. They just made choices.
Yeah.
And it changed the fabric of society, humanity. And I'll say that, make choices and have goals. And honestly, you'll see that there are others who will be on the same levels to help your story, help your struggle, help your situation along the way, and reach out to somebody. But it's choices. It's all choices. And yeah, I affirm all that you guys have said.
All right. Appreciate it. Pastor Smith, thank you very much, Jonathan, for being on here. We just ran out of time. Well, we went over a little bit, because we started a little bit behind, so that's okay. It was a good conversation. What do you think, Michelle? You like it? I mean, granted, you got the 3 males on here, but you're okay. We did all right.
Yes, trust me. I'm not very shy. I speak my mind.
Okay, all right. So this is Black Buzz, gentlemen. This is, normally we're interviewing entrepreneurs, but we're just doing a little bit of change up for the month of June, Father's Day, and all these different things, that we normally it's just that day. This is our version of going beyond the typical tie, the shirt and tie that we normally get. We're doing a little bit more, man. But thank you guys for coming on. Pastor Smith, I know that you're a busy man. You got a whole lot of things doing, family-wise, church-wise. You're dealing with things in a pandemic. Jonathan, you've identified how many things that you're involved with, man, and you're just flying in as well. You're still dealing with jet lag. Condolences on the passing of your grandmother.
Yes.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
but
it.
Just stay strong, man. Just stay strong. Someday soon we won't have to deal with that anymore. All right,
Yeah.
folks, we are going to sign off. Thank you for watching Black Buzz Mondays, 2 p.m. We're on here. Miss Shay, I forgot to mention that she is a recording artist. She don't like when I say that, but yes, she is. All things music. She's very much in that arena, in that alley. And, she's a part of the crew here and the driving force behind Black Buzz. Until next Monday, I guess. We'll sign off, man. If you want to hook us up, just go on Black Buzz Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Take care of yourself, y'all.
All right.
All right. Thanks.
See you guys.
Thanks for having us on.